start. Ryan, can you put my slides up? Yes. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Green Talks with FNB. My name is Sharon Sandy. On behalf of the organizing committee, I am thrilled to welcome everyone to this very first Green Talks event. Green Talks with FNB is part of a series called Green Talks with Business, co-hosted by Zureli and Sunway Iskandar, and supported by Iskandar Regional Development Authority, or IRDA. Green Talks are small and relaxed but targeted B2B events where specific business sectors can start thinking, interacting, and taking action towards greener operations. Today we welcome those from the F&B industry and supporting businesses. The fact that you have taken the time to be here today is already a step in the right direction. We hope today's talks and networking will catalyze industry-driven green initiatives, formation of green alliances within the industry, increased usage of green products, which will spread and eventually, hopefully, engage the whole F&B industry. Okay, I would like to thank all participating companies in today's event. Some have traveled from Singapore and KL to be here today, like leaving in KL at 3 a.m., I believe. And also, I would like to thank Ali Lab for the excellent coffee, which is roasted right here at the Citrine Hub, which is across the road. Okay, for today's program, we will be having a series of short talks until 11 a.m. After which there will be time to network over coffee, view the exhibition, and interact with the speakers. In the interest of time, we will have all the Q&A right at the end of the program. Hope everyone will be able to wait till the end, where there will be 1 hour of more networking. By the way, to access the restrooms is just through this door over here. And at the end of the program, from 12 noon, there will be a site tour of Sunway Iskandar. We are right here in Sunway Iskandar. So I highly recommend to take the opportunity to view this exciting development. If you are interested in the tour, please sign up at the registration counter. So at this event, we are trying to practice what we preach. Hence, no plastic water bottles and minimal printouts. However, don't worry, you can find all the information about today's program online at this address, www.zureli.green. Without further ado, I would like to introduce the first speaker, Tim Warrington, Director Zureli. Tim is the co-founder of Zureli.com, the largest global portal for sustainable products and services, and he also conceptualized the Green Talk series. He is himself a great supporter of sustainable and eco-friendly products and has worked for businesses dealing in sustainable products. He has taken the experience a step further by incorporating sustainable materials in the construction of his own house. Tim will be setting the stage today for today's Green Talks by sharing some insights on why green is the new black. Thank you, Tim.
There are more people alive today on the planet than have ever died. That is a huge challenge to the generations going forward. Wrong way. Enough of the sun's energy hits the Earth every 48 hours to power the globe for an entire year, which is a huge opportunity. 800 tons of plastic gets poured into our oceans every day, which is a complete disgrace. So my talk today is green is the new black, and black I mean profit. So we're not talking about doing what's right for the world, though that's obviously important. We're doing what's right for our bottom line, making money out of being green by doing the right thing. I'm going to start with a sort of global perspective as I see it. And within that, probably a slide that would surprise you really. Texas is not known for its green credentials. It's been pumping oil for more than 200 years. But however, it is the greenest state in America in the way of producing electricity. So why is Texas standing on a lake of oil producing more green energy than any other state in America? And it's not Donald Trump's eco-friendly agenda, the green warrior of the White House. It's not him. It's all down to economics. It is now cheaper for Texas to make electricity from renewables than it is from oil. So they're doing it not necessarily for the right reason, but they're doing it for a reason that actually makes economic sense. And that's nothing new. This young lad, back in the 70s, which is me, with a highly dodgy haircut and an even dodgier shirt, we used to cycle around the area, the neighbourhood, and we would pick up glass bottles. Not because we were some sort of eco-warrior, but we could take those to the local sweet shop and convert them to cash, and from cash we could convert into miles cards. So the idea of actually making money out of being green is nothing new. I'm called a part of the baby boomers, and I think we've probably got some millennials here, and we've got some Zeds and some strawberries, and God knows what else we're all called these days. But I call myself a part of the BP generation, before plastics. Because when I was a child, plastics didn't exist. So in 40 years, we have become addicted to plastic. So what are the market forces that are playing within the F&B sector and within the economy in general? Well, if we look at some of these names, all these companies have something in common that the people out here don't. They all have massive marketing budgets, they can do research on demographics, on changing buying patterns, and they can do all that. And all of these companies, Starbucks now reducing straws, KFC now got a green logo, they've invented or introduced their first green restaurant in Malaysia last year. McDonald's also going green, Burger King. Iceland in the UK have stopped all plastics that isn't recyclable, or Waitrose has stopped the use of all one-time coffee cups. So all these companies are making a change to go green, and they're doing it for commercial reasons, as well as environmental. Because they know the buying habits of people are changing. People are becoming more green, and actually green is where they need to be. Social responsibility. Well, young people today are far more socially responsible than we were as my generation. We didn't even know what environmentalists were when I was a kid. So the demographics are changing, people are wanting to become more green, and that is why the big companies are promoting and trying to make sure they keep market share and they're actually driving their businesses forward. Media. Well, we've never had so much media as we have now. We have it on our phones, we have it on our radios, our TVs, and the growth of environmental stories has grown exponentially over the last 20 years. So again, we are being fed with more environmental knowledge than we ever have before, and that's driving change. Corporate goals. McKinsey did a survey that 57% of all corporates around the world now have sustainability as a part of their long-term strategy. And that's a huge change in the last 10 years. But why would a corporate want to go green? What's the benefit of creating a green office with good air, with good lights, with plants? Well, for them, it's all a matter of economics. Because if you have a nice environment to work and live, you don't miss so many days off being sick. You actually improve productivity. You retain your staff better. And all those have an impact on their bottom line, and all the reasons that they are going black because of green. Unilever is a case in point. 9 years ago, it appointed a new Chief Operating Officer, or Executive Officer, with a green agenda. They're a big F&B company, as you all know, and over the last 8 years, their profits have grown year on year. So by embracing green, they're increasing their profits. Government, and we have some government people here. So what's government's role in all of this? Well, twofold really. They have the carrot and the stick. And by the carrot, I would use the example of subsidies for solar panels, which they've introduced over the last few years, which have now become less. It helped kickstart the whole solar industry. The stick, well, one-time use plastic bags. More than 70 countries now have banned it. Malaysia is thinking about it. The reason that they do it, case in point, Botswana, for instance. Cows eat plastic bags and die. Agriculture accounts for 80% of their GDP. So it makes financial sense for these countries to change their habits. The cost of not being sustainable. Well, it's put somewhere in $2–3 trillion to clear up the mess that we've already created, which on the one hand is an opportunity because you can make money out of clearing it up, but it's a hell of a price to pay, really, the mess that we've got ourselves into. If we look at the F&B industry, 30% of food is not used globally, and Malaysia is no exception. So we have 3,000 tons of perfectly good food going in the bin every day. So if we can reduce that wastage, if we can actually reduce that, we can improve our bottom line on our balance sheets. The F&B industry accounts for 30–40% of all waste going into landfill elimination. So there's a huge necessity to actually make change, and the market is very much for change. Investors. Investors like green. If you're investing in a company, you want to make sure that it has a long-term future. And a case in point would be 3 options. Now, I don't know if any of you around the tables here have a spare $100 million, but if you did, you could look at building a nuclear power station that would give you a return in 10 to 12 years, or a fossil fuel power station that would give you a return in 8 to 10 years, or a solar farm that would give you a return between 18 months and 2 years. So even the sovereign wealth funds are changing. So what we've actually got is a whole industry and a whole sector, the whole environment that we work in is changing towards green for commercial reasons as well as environmental. And that's a huge opportunity for all of us to get on that bandwagon and actually promote green as a way of promoting profits. So we have a choice. We either bury our head in the sand and pretend these changes aren't happening, or we embrace the change and make it profitable for our own businesses. And with profit, we can then expand and we can do more good. Without profits, we can do nothing. So on that note, I will leave you in peace and hand over to the next speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Tim, for highlighting that green can also be make good business sense. And now the next speaker is Mr. Boyd Joman, who is the Head Environment Iskandar Regional Development Authority. And Boyd has been very supportive and enthusiastic of the Green Talks as a platform to encourage business to go green. So I would like to say a big thank you to Boyd as well as Michelle Yu's team from IRDA. Boyd is a town and country planner with 35 experience in environmental planning and management. He obtained his town planning degree at the South Bank University, London, and worked in the UK for over 20 years, where he was a member of the Royal Town Planning Institute and the Urban Design Group. While at IRDA, he was involved in the preparation and now implementation of the Low Carbon Society Blueprint for Iskandar, Malaysia, as well as several other blueprints related to the environment and green economy. He also oversees the implementation of various urban assessment tools and the monitoring of the greenhouse gases emission of Iskandar, Malaysia. At this very first Green Talk event, Boyd will share insights on the bigger picture with his presentation, Green Economy, Green Growth.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Boyd Wesley. My email, if you need to contact me. I'm very much working on this thing because it's something very, very important to my heart, really. Because it's, like Tim was saying, I'm an environmentalist. First, I'm actually a town planner, and I've studied town planning, obviously, in the UK, and architecture. And then I'm more of an environmentalist. I'm probably just always have been an environmentalist anyway, because I want to do something for the environment. And I think everybody knows here, and may have heard this. I'm sorry for those who have heard it before, but I keep saying this. We only have one planet, and we have to look after it very well. Otherwise, we won't be here now. It's not as if tomorrow we can go to the moon or somewhere else and just fly and say, okay, forget about Earth. Anyway, anyone's seen the movie called WALL-E? Yeah? As good as the opening scene, robot, Earth, full of rubbish, put it together, crunch it, and then throw it out, and then make mountain out of that. And then all of us sit wonderfully, comfortably in another world, another place, in a spaceship, and getting bigger and bigger. Like me, it's, when I started IRDA 10 years ago, I'm quite slim. My mom tells me that, are you sick? Malaysians, right? Are you sick? But then I said, and when I got a bit more filled up, she said, oh, you must be happy. So, you know, for me, it's like my wife saying, no, you want to be slimmer. Anyway, I'm digressing a little bit, but I want to tell everyone about this wonderful topic called green economy, green growth. I'll just stand here because some of us have our nice way of where we want to be. Very much, as you can see there, the green of the environment. And of course, this is Sungai Pulai. Everybody knows that place, I guess. And it's one of our 3 Ramsar sites. I mentioned that because 3 Ramsar sites in Eastern Malaysia. And there's only 7 in the whole of Malaysia. So we are quite lucky. And for this purpose, we are using that as a carbon sink. So we want to keep it as it is. Otherwise, we're going to lose out one day. And then if we lost them, that's not so good for Malaysia. We will be one of the first countries in the world that lost their Ramsar, which are of international wetland status. So very important, which I'll make up later on. But very much my topic today is about the low carbon society blueprint. For those of you who have heard this before, thank you. And for those who haven't, I hope that you learned something from this one, because it's a very important piece of document that we are implementing now. We have something like 281 programs. We've done about 50 plus. One of these programs is like this talk, for example, which is reaching out to people and working very closely with you guys, and especially with, in this case, with Dr. Gerard from Sunway, who thankfully gave us this venue, very good venue, by the way, and I got lost, so that's not so good either. And of course, Zureli, who provided a platform for us in the sense of reaching out to everyone, how we can work together online, and by doing that, bringing everyone here. And for IRDA, it's very much just to facilitate this event. So it means that we kind of 3-in-1 win, if you like, which means that you guys can get to know each other and work together. But the very fact that you're here means you are looking at something green from your own perspective, as well as for your own companies and from all your own resources. So thank you for being here. I hope that this will be a session that we get to know really well and to see what is happening in this kind of Malaysia. Okay, this is what we do: plan, promote, facilitate. We don't actually implement projects so much in that sense, but we facilitate this kind of event. Of course, we've already planned because we have what's called a comprehensive development plan, which we are using to develop this kind of Malaysia. If you were here 10 years ago and now, it's very, very different. I started here in 2008, literally the beginning of this kind of Malaysia. The documents were done in 2005, I think. 2008, I came here, I went through Sinai, very small airport, it's different now. I went through Sinai and I thought, is this JB? I never been to JB, by the way. I tend to jump in from Singapore right up to KL, that kind of thing. So when I came to Johor, I told my wife, is this Johor Bahru? It looks very small, of course it's Sinai. And then when we got to Johor Bahru, I thought, yeah, it's not bad, it's fairly big. And then we keep, comparing, because I'm from Sabah, by the way, and I keep saying, Oh, but KK is bigger than in Johor. So there you go. That's, I'm still thinking the same. However, strangely enough, KK is developing really well, and it's actually some properties that are more expensive than Iskandar. I was asking Gerard earlier. It's actually some condos in KK are more expensive, which is quite interesting. I can't afford it, by the way, anyway, so there you go. Sorry, Gerard. Anyway, we also promote, promoting is important because if it gets to a point where we go with our minister, our new minister, by the way, of MITI, International Trade Industry, and our colleagues at MIDA and federal government, we go with them when they go on their trade missions. So that's when we promote Iskandar Malaysia. If it's a point where you think it's a good idea for you guys to come with us, let us know. We might be able to bring you with the entourage from the government and with us to go, because we go, IRDA, by the way, we go to different countries all over the world, by the way, and we do that, we promote you guys in those international contexts. So at some point, if you want to do that, let us know. Especially Michelle, who's in here somewhere. She is what's called the Economics and Investment Division. They deal a lot with that and promote you at international level. So if you get a chance, please come and see us. So this is very much our vision: strong, sustainable metropolis with international standing. That's what Iskandar Malaysia's vision is for this area. By the way, all of you, I'm assuming, know Iskandar Malaysia? Yeah? Okay, lagan. Actually, it stretched from the Kuku Island, which is in the Malacca Straits, right up to Sungai Johor, north to Sedenak, and south, where we are now literally next to Singapore. It's three times the size of Singapore. So it's a huge place. Very exciting piece of work for me to do, of course, for my team as well, and for everyone in Iskandar. And this is it. This is part of the excitement, working with you guys, because you are actually the vehicle that drives what is going to happen, what is happening in Iskandar Malaysia. Okay, so this is very important. It's about green economy, which we thought about 10 years back. And what you want to do is green growth. That's what the vision is all about being sustainable, and of course, great metropolis that we're making it at the moment. Metropolis doesn't mean that you're going to make it all buildings. If you go to Tokyo, it's 32 million people, bigger than the whole population of Malaysia, and 32 cities. We don't want that. It's too big and it's too huge to manage, if you like. We want it to be a connection between green, as we've shown in the first picture, to what you see now. And the way that Sunway Iskandar is doing it, it's working with the green elements that are surrounding them. So we don't want to destroy those as we develop. We want to work with the environment, and we want to work with the actual landscape that you are in, because that's your asset. People come because of that. When, I keep digressing on this, but when Hershey came to Iskandar Malaysia, they have a factory near the airport, when they came, they wanted to see how green it is, and because they are a very green company. So I briefed them and said, this is our low carbon society blueprint. If you do your development in this sense, super. So then, even 5 years back, when we adopted the low carbon society blueprint, we said, any development or developer that are going to spew a lot of carbon into the atmosphere or polluting the environment, we don't want you, even if you're giving us 10 billion worth of investment. We want clean environment, so we want to pledge to the government and to everyone of you that this is our approach. So through this document here on the left, Low Carbon Society Blueprint, we launched this in Doha. So globally, we told everyone, this is what Iskandar Malaysia is all about. That's what we want to do. And from one of the things within this, of course, is the green economy, which we are pursuing, and the reason why you are here. Because we want to tell you that this is Iskandar's approach. If you go by this, we can really work together, and we can develop this region very, very well. So with this blueprint, we launched that, we internationalized it. I remember the former ambassador of Japan to Malaysia saying, okay, now that you have globally launched this document, you must implement it. So that was our challenge. But actually, after that, my division was created to propel and actually implement this LCS blueprint. Our focus is to really reduce our carbon emissions, even as we develop. Because when we develop, there's a lot going on. Buildings, electricity, cars, everything. But wouldn't it be wonderful if we can at the same time reduce our carbon emissions as we develop? That's the whole point of the story. So from an intensity point of view, 58% reductions. From an absolute point of view, 40%. And later on, I'm going to say that we have so far reduced our emissions in 2016 by 10.7% out of 58. So it's not bad. So we are doing some really good work. If you guys can do the same bandwagon, if you like, you could help us reduce that even further. But of course, it's the first talk that we're doing, and of course, Zureli and Samuel will help us to promote even more. So other companies will come next time, and the more involvement, the better as we go. But we have what's called 12 actions, big labels. We group them into green economy, green community, green environment, and in this context, we're able to reduce our carbon emission reductions. Not so much in this one, I guess, but this is the context. Internationally, we look at, of course, the UNFCCC. We look at climate change. At COP21 in Paris, we looked at and adhere to this understanding that the planet shouldn't increase in terms of temperature. Because the hotter it gets, more problems we're going to face. Not our generation, of course, but in 100 years' time, when our children and children's children are going to be there, they're going to face some very hot weather. Everybody knows about like Japan is hotter than before, a few months back. Of course, more storms, things like that, but I won't go into it. So Malaysia-wise, of course, there's a pledge on reducing our carbon emissions by 45% by 2030. We followed suit with that with our document. This is the one that we launched in Bonn during COP23. Over there, we told everyone that we have reduced our emissions by 10%. So we've done a full cycle from development right up to tracking our carbon emissions. And of course, we did one step further. We produced a blueprint for Iskandar itself, region, and then we went to each local authority for which you guys might be working with directly. They have their own action plan to implement, and they also track their carbon emissions, working closely with IRDA. So I'm just showing you some of the projects that we have implemented. CASB is an important tool in terms of assessing buildings. If you get this is similar to GBI, but GBI is more of a branding issue because they don't track it afterwards. They give you a platinum and that's it. CASB, if you get that one, in 2 years later, we're going to reassess you. If you fail to deliver what you've pledged to do, if you like, then we take out a certification. So you have to start all over again, literally. Gaia is kind of working together with this. Gaia is called the Green Accord Initiative Award. It's done by IRDA to promote green development as well as companies that really promote green agenda. For example, Zureli could be qualified with this. Of course, Somewhere itself, several others. There's been recipient on this, but we're very clever in the sense that if you have CASB, you have GBI, Green Mark, BREEAM, that is your degree, your first degree. To get Gaia is a PhD, you have to work harder. Which means if you qualify here, you might still fail to get a Gaia certificate. Gaia, by the way, can then take you even further because you can use that and claim that when you go branding online, as well as when you go to your overseas or local promotions. You can actually say, I've got Gaia certificate. And it's well recognized within Iskandar, but it's gaining ground because DBKL, City Hall, have their own local design blueprint. They followed ours. They're going to implement Gaia. Putrajaya is implementing Gaia. The other one is Kota Kinabalu, my city. They're also going to implement that soon. So we've done some good work on that now. So which means it's a good platform that you guys can use. And my colleague here, Ong, is the person in charge of this particular two projects, CASB and Gaia. Please talk to him, and then he can let you become one of the participants for next year. Not easy to get because it's a PhD. And a lot of those that claim to be green, I'm a green company, I'm a green developer, when we test them through CASB and Gaia, in a sense, they failed. They didn't meet the requirements, the high standard requirements that we looked at. This is, the benchmark is cities like Tokyo, for example. Very, very high standard that we are trying to achieve. Because we have an ultimate story on this, because one day with Gaia and Kaspi, we want buildings like Sunway, for example, to be part of what's called cap and trade. This is, instead of cap and trade between countries, we cap and trade between cities and the buildings within the city. So if your building satisfies the requirements, you could actually trade carbon with another city. At the moment, it's only Tokyo. So we can work closely with them, and then we can help you, we can facilitate that. I won't go through all of this, but just to present that these are the things that we are doing. Some of you may be involved on this already anyway. For example, I mentioned earlier, this one I've already talked about. We're going to Katowice in Poland in December and tell more stories. One of the things I want to bring there is this talk, by the way, Tim, because I think it's a great platform that we can share to say from our side. Of course, we are kind of we're saying that this is one of the things that IRGA is doing at local level, reaching out to everyone, working with companies and working with agencies that are involved. So we want to be able to share some of these ideas with you guys. So if you don't mind, we might come to you directly and ask for some information. Because we want to put it in a booklet and say, these companies are involved in this story. So this is the crunch of what I'm going to talk about. This is one of the 201 programs called the Green Economy Guidelines. This one is really important because it's we focus it on 9 sectors that Istana Malaysia is promoting for the region. So we looked at anything from advisory to logistics, education, electronics and engineering, all those things. So there are 9 documents. And of course, each of you here will have a connection to each one of those documents at least. If you are in the health sector, there is a GEG on that. But our role here is to advise. We hold seminars like this one, the Green Talks that we're doing today, through Invest Istana Malaysia. Any of you attended the one in February this year? Sorry, October, last year. It's a wonderful platform, and I encourage you guys to be part of that and possibly give a talk. I'm hoping that Tim will do a talk in that particular session. And we of course, we go with MIDA for the missions, and we have projects under this particular grouping, which we are going to do. One is green ports. How do we green our ports? Industrial symbiosis, which is essentially, if you have never heard of it, it's like, imagine one company's byproduct or their waste can be used as a resource by another company. And that company goes on. So essentially, if you have 10, it becomes a big story. So this is the whole idea. So basically, this is it. Green opportunities. I'm just going to say all of this: energy, land, transport, housing. All of these are relevant to you guys, and something you can work with and work on. So these are the 9 sectors. What we're looking at is in terms of how we can work together in this sense. So very much, these are what we're doing. Incentives, about greening businesses, about having hubs, and working closely with all entities, especially agencies and businesses. So benefits are all there. By the way, we can give you a copy of this to read more later. But very much about climate change, inclusiveness, and a very strong green policy that will help each of us, as well as help Istana Malaysia prosper. So I've already spoken on this one, which is to reduce our emissions. And we track right up to this point, and we have done our 10.8% reductions. So very much, this is my last slide, telling you about the importance of political will, which we have, involvement of your side, funding, as well as what we can do together to ensure that we can really do something about it. So thank you for listening. I think it's slightly longer than expected, but I hope that it gives you an idea of what we plan to do. Please come back if you need to. Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, Boyd. So now you have it. You know where to go if you need any support. Boyd will be very happy to meet any of you And besides that, I think the F&B outlets can also start doing things amongst themselves. For example, reducing your food waste that goes into the normal garbage, separating your food waste. That will already make a huge impact on the greenhouse gases emission. Okay, now for the next talk, we have Dr. Gerard Koh, who is Chief Marketing Officer, Property Development Division, Malaysia, Sunway Berhad. And we are very lucky to be able to work with him and his team to make this Green Talk series a reality. Dr. Gerard has a diverse training, having obtained bachelor degree in law and medical science and a master's in commerce, management, accounting and IT from the University of Sydney. His doctorate is in strategic leadership and strategic foresight from Regent University, the US. He now heads Sunway Properties initiatives in strategic branding and positioning, and brings on board more than 19 years of deep experience in the real estate industry. Prior to joining Sunway Property, he was the Chief Marketing Officer of Madini Iskandar Malaysia. Besides providing leadership and vision, which lead to strong and sustainable increase in value of Sunway Property, he is excited to be involved in developments which are truly sustainable ecosystems. Dr. Gerard will be sharing about the business opportunities at Sunway, and those of you who are interested to explore this beautiful nature-centric development can sign up at the registration counter later for the tour. Please join me to welcome Dr. Gerard.
Good morning. Thank you for the CV introduction. Good morning, everyone. I think some of us have interacted before, so I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what the opportunities are within the Sunway Group, but also some of the initiatives that we're doing in the group as well to try and build as much as possible sustainable development. So do let me know if I'm over time. Okay. Just very quickly, Sunway started off as a tin mining company in 1974. This is the city as we speak. The only asset that's not there yet is this tall tower. Everything else is there. So we started off as a mining town. We mine it to death, really literally to death. Nothing could grow there. So we've revived the place to what it is today. So this was what it was. This is what it is today. And we position this space as a holiday destination. So a lot of you might be thinking that we actually developers actually do develop a lot of assets, but actually for our own use. So a lot of the assets that we have to make sure that the practices we have are sustainable moving the long term. Not sustainable only from an environmental point of view, economic as well, ensuring that there's sustainability of all the business in that ecosystem. So we've got Sunway Lagoon that's there. We've got various components, the resort and the hotels, the shopping malls. We've got about 4.5 million square feet of retail mall space. I'm showing these slides not to tell you how great we are, what we do. These are real challenges that we have because of the assets that we own. We have a lot of challenges in terms of trying to convert a lot of these existing old assets into assets that have the green components in there, trying to reduce energy usage that we have, reducing the amount of waste that we're producing. And I was even speaking to a gentleman earlier. Some of the older assets that we have issues with the way the ventilation system works. These are real problems. And because we own a lot of these assets, they are things that we have to do ourselves. They are things that we have to invest in. So these are some of the assets we own. So these are some of the challenges that we have. Obviously, we've got construction, got various components that are here, building materials. So all these items here, we have to move towards another realm of operation. We can't keep on doing what we used to do. So what we did a couple of years back, what Tan Sri did was looking at, I'll share a little bit with you later on, is looking at the United Nations Sustainability Goals and how we're starting to measure that. So medical centers that we have coming up as well, a lot of the medical centers that we have, we're starting medical research in those areas, excellence, we call the centers of excellence in various components. We're very driven by research now in various different realms because of the assets that we own. We are in Penang as well. This is a city that we are building. Obviously, some of the challenges that we have in this side of the city is that, there are business opportunities there, but in terms of making sure that the whole ecosystem is sustainable, that we just don't have density for the sake of density. In this asset here, as you see, actually there's only a few components actually for sale. Most of those components actually we're keeping. So everything here we're keeping, the hospital we're keeping, pretty much that tower we're keeping. Only this portion and that portion that we're selling, the rest we're keeping. So we normally keep about half of the assets that we build in any ecosystem. So then the challenge for us is we've got to make sure the residents around the area and whatever that we build around the space that we're in, because we are in some sense intruding into new spaces. This used to be a factory where Lee Rubber was there previously. So we have to infuse population into the space without affecting some of the medium low cost housing that's there. We are always fortunate, or not fortunate, we're not sure, but we take it from a positive slant that we're fortunate that we're always in ecosystems that we've got environment there. So environment issues is a real thing for us. Example, in Ipoh, of 1,350 acres, half of that we can't touch. And a lot of that we can't develop a lot of the components there. We have to keep a lot of the lakes, a lot of the water systems that's already existing in the ecosystem there. We've got to really make sure that we don't impact negatively on the ecosystem that's surrounding it. Same thing with Sunway PJ, we convert the wasteland into wonderland, we call it, but wasteland into greenland. Same thing here, the more bigger task is maintaining the green that we have, that we're working there. So when we build theme parks around it, we have to integrate into the ecosystem. Obviously, we have the Bajaran Hot Springs retreat. This is an existing ecosystem that's there. For us to build a resort, we are only able to build up to 45 villas there because of the environmental impact we could have if we stretch it too far. We also have stretched to China, where we've been invited to work on a new destination at EcoCity. So a lot of the cities we go in, we have to be quite involved in ensuring there's a balance between development, sustainability, as well as the financial control. The way we are right now is 1,800 acres of land. This is actually our largest investment in the south. So the largest investment in Sunway Group is actually sitting in Iskandar here. We have 1,800 acres, of which 40% of it will be greenscape. So we own, and also we are in charge of making sure that the 7 kilometers of the Pendas River is still as pristine as it could be. So there's things like 50 meters setback from the waterfront and all these things that we've got to work with. We have 5 kilometers to Singapore. So that's the river that runs into the ecosystem. So where we are, we're just about there. We've been here about 4 years now, but a lot of the development will be stretched over the next 20 years. So that's a view from Singapore to Singapore from one of the building tall towers there. That's the view to Singapore. So a lot of this land, that's the land that we own. And that's just Singapore. So the most important thing for us actually is the river ecosystem. So this is the Amazon River, and this is us. So this is the nature that we have to work around. So that's just a couple minutes away from here. So that's the kind of an ecosystem that's there, that's existing as we speak. This was photos taken, I think, if I'm not wrong, April this year. So that's the building that we're just at that point. That's how close we are to the river. Yeah. That's how close we are. We're just there. We're just there right now. So that's how close we are to the river. So we've got the mouth of the river that goes in there. So the land, this Sunway Iskandar land, that's the land that we have. So as we develop, we've got to really be really aware how we encroach into the surrounding space that we have. So that's existing ecosystem, the flora that's there, the fauna that's there as well. These are real shots taken. So as with this land, when we bought it from Madini, unfortunately, a lot of the trees and a lot of the flora that was here was cleared out. So this land here, this lake here is pretty much mined out. It's cleared. It's just water, just a water base there. So we had to spend quite a bit of funds now developing our own nursery so that we can plant it back into the ecosystem. All the space that you see here was just pretty much barren land. But that's what we were good at. That's what we did when we were in PJ. We basically have to plant a lot of trees back in the space that we're in. So that's the space we're in right now. We're trying to build ecosystem. We're trying to build population in the space here. The school started about 1.5 years ago. We are about 420 students now from zero a year and a half ago. We're bursting capacity already as it is. We don't have enough classrooms. But we're doing all these things because we are trying to build a viable business community at the same time as well. So petrol stations coming in. These are all assets. Most of these assets that you see are not for sale. These are assets that we have to develop in order to ensure that population starts to move in as well. So this is a development that we work with Daiwa House in Japan, one of the largest developers there. These are prefab homes that we're developing right now. So quite an experiment for us. There's only about 100 units that we were selling. So petrol station. This is a retail space that we're building. We try not to build retail space that's too many floors. We try and have more a lifestyle situation. So this space here is bigger than the JPO that we have out in Senai area. We also have invested in X Park, which is an adventure park in the ecosystem. The idea for us is that we wanted to plant a lot of green back and try and rebuild the ecosystem. The space that's there now is really quite barren land with not much, it's just water bodies there with not much life. So trying to bring back life into the space. Yeah, so we're about 5 kilometers to Singapore and probably about 4 kilometers to the Medellin town center. So we subscribed to 17 UN SDG goals, not as a marketing tool. Initially, of course, everyone was trying to figure out as a developer why would we want to be doing this and how would this translate. Everyone's quite skeptical 2 years ago whether this is going to be a marketing campaign as such only. So for Tan Street, it wasn't a marketing campaign. It was something that he really wanted to entrench into the system. So we looked at each of the UN SDG goals and the various components. So SDG goal number 9, we started to look at elevated canopy walk to try and reduce amount of traffic, car traffic, so a lot bit more walking within the ecosystem. So around about 4 kilometers now. I spent 3 days of my time in KL working there. The rest of the time I chose to live in Johor because it's just one of the most fabulous places in Malaysia. I live across the road, my kids study there, I walk across 2 minutes. Right? I don't really, I still drive admittedly, so that's wrong. But just the weather, but my mileage for my car has just dropped tremendously just by trying to have that quicker. But when I'm in KL as well, I walk to work. I probably stay at about one of the hotels nearby. I walk to work, so oftentimes I don't even drive anymore. A lot of reduction of driving. So these are the canopy walk. These are the walks I do every morning and there and back. Sustainability goal number 9, security as well. That's something that we push really hard. The LRT, VRT system is electric buses. So we started this a couple of years back. It's something that we did because it's an experiment. We want to build a city that's integrated. So all these components that we share with you are going to be components that we're going to build here. Except that the Sunway City is about 800 acres. It's about 2.5 times less than the size here. So we're 2.5 times more in the space here. All these components that you see are going to be components that we're going to be building here. Water treatment plant, 500,000 gallons enough for 15,000 households for the local community that's there. We've put back into the ecosystem 150 species of flora and fauna, and we planted 30,000 trees to greenerize the space that we have in Sunway City. So that's Tan Sri Jaffrey Shah, who's the founder. He's 74 this year, and his focus is purely on the UN Sustainability Goals, education, and startups. He's building for the next generation now on how we move forward. So energy management, we've got a lot of commercial buildings that we own, so SDG goal number 12. We try as much as possible to reduce our carbon footprint. Zero food wastage as well. We do programs such as this. The one was recently that was last Friday here. We had packed food for 80,000 people just with our staff that's here, and Sunway Construction and the school as well. That's something that we do right across the nation. I think if I'm not wrong, we're trying to pack food for 1 million people this year right across the whole ecosystem. Again, trying to fulfill SDG goal number 1 and number 2. Smoke-free zone, this is a really far-fetched idea, but Tan Sri has, he detests smoking. So we're trying to convert Sunway City in PJ to be a smoke-free zone. And the largest protest we have is actually from our own staff. That's actually our largest protest. But we are now segregating smoking areas to different sections of the building, so it's less and less desirable to smoke in, next to closer the garbage bins, and subtly trying to do all kind of stuff, right? But the idea is, if I'm not wrong, I think it's by 2020, if I'm not wrong, that Tan Sri wants to convert the Sunway PJ City to be a totally smoke-free zone. And we are even moving businesses like pubs and clubs out of that ecosystem as well, because they wouldn't be able to comply with some fees. Digital platform, so we try to roll some of this. In the core of it is the education foundation that Tan Sri converted the foundation a couple of years back. His children don't even sit on the board, just to make sure that the foundation itself is sustainable and able to grow. 40,000 students that's there. We work with UC Cambridge, Harvard, and Oxford. UC Cambridge, we're setting up a medical facility. The first research medical facility outside of Cambridge ever is sitting in Sunway PJ. So some of these initiatives, why we invested in it is because we're trying to get the best in the world in realms that they're specialized in. So health is something that we're specializing in. Today, when we met with the founders at Zureli, when we heard about the concept, and we came in not by chance actually, we couldn't refuse it because our friends were all connected, and we realized when the first meeting that we had all common friends who were all pointing back to the founders. So when we saw things like that happening, we really sit down and try to work out why that's happening, and something that the ecosystem probably wants. So when we worked on it together, probably 2 or 3 months back, we said to each other that we're here to develop ecosystems. Actually in Sunway right now, a lot of the role that I work on as well is building ecosystems. And today really I would like to congratulate the founders that you've started this, and a really great job. Can we give you a round of applause, please? You should see their faces 2 to 3 weeks ago, right? They were like, what's going to happen on the day? Our list is really short. People don't know about us, but we said, well, we keep persevering, and then we'll get there. So just to finish off, we have an innovation lab that we started developing about a year ago. Reason why Tan Sri invested in this space, and this space actually is going to be, it's now sitting only at about 6,000 square feet in Sunway PJ. It's now going to be expanded to 15,000. Reason why we want to get into this space is we wanted to work with a lot of the startups that are going to be able to impact the ecosystem that we're in. Because a lot of the challenges that there are out there in the market, a lot of people have great ideas, but they can't execute the idea, so it stops at idea stage. It cannot get to the commercialization stage. So our role, we thought, as a commercial entity is at least get and try to find a financially viable model to justify why certain businesses should explore a little bit further. So we started doing that in the central. Actually, we are starting to invest a couple of things. Our office that we have actually in Sunway Iskandar is about 15,000 square feet. We got a SME operator, entrepreneur operator to come in to drive SME community in the ecosystem, and we picked a local Johorian startup to run the space. And it's actually paid commercial, right? So he's not really working for us. He chose to be here. And why we looked at him versus some of the larger guys in KL, because I think only local people know what local entities and business, how they operate. Johor is closer to Singapore than it is to KL. Johorians, I think DNA maybe through evolution or whatever, because we're so close to Singapore, we are more Singaporean than we are Johor, right? KL. Actually, we're in some way more Singaporean mentality than we are towards the Malaysian side. So sometimes when KL people come down, they don't understand how Johorians work. Same thing when Johorians go to KL, they don't understand how KL people work, right? So I'm fortunate to see the two sides, so I can see the difference between the two. Johorians are really enterprising people. We look at always what's the next thing, let's push the boundary, and then let's create new things. Whereas KL's like, we are there, is this going to work? We're not sure. So we are trying to potentialize a lot of the energy that's in Johor, and we felt that the community that has the largest potential is actually the upstarts. A lot of the Singaporeans, but a lot of the Malaysians who have gone overseas, who have come back, so overseas meaning Singapore, right? And they have come back and wanted to do some stuff. So we met a couple of people this morning in their 20s. In the 20s, 21, 22, we've decided to come back from Australia to Johor. I said, why pick Johor, go KL, right? There's a larger market. He says, no, because Johor is so entrepreneurial and so enterprising, and we're so willing to try new things. And we're so ready to fail. But most of the time, if you're the ecosystem there, we feel that at least the success could be high. And that's where we thought we try and drive that community there. Yeah. Okay, just finishing off, so that's the space that we have. This is a GBI building. That's actually our whole office. That's where the co-working space is. I think we're pretty much done. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Gerard, for a very, very informative talk. And I think the take-home message is let's push the boundaries. So it's up to all of you here today from the F&B industry to come up with some new boundaries that you want to push, okay? So get networking later about that. Anyway, the next speaker, now we are going more into the products that you can actually use in your operations, is Mr. K.E. Tan. He is the Managing Director of BioX Global from Singapore. And he is passionate about enabling the wider use of safer and greener products to replace the use of potentially toxic and environmentally damaging chemicals. Today he will be talking about BioX, a safe and green all-in-one solution which combines modern technology and traditional herbal extracts to create a range of green products for pest control, cleaning, odor control, and many other uses, which can be applied across a wide range of industries, including the F&B industry. So please help me to welcome Mr. K.E. Tan.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'll go quickly go into it. So, what is basically that point one? Okay, what is BioX Pro and what is BioX basically? Okay, it's a multifunctional solution basically, now acting as a disinfectant, as a deodorizer, as a fungicide, as an insecticide, as the ovicide, larvicide, okay? And insect repellent, and a plant growth enhancer. Okay? Now I can go into each and one of these with you in detail later because I don't have enough time to go through all this, but basically all this has been tested and certified and proven. Okay? So all these like disinfectant, we are tested, proven to kill E. coli, Salmonella, to kill viruses like H1N1, traditional swine fever, bronchitis, this Newcastle disease and all that. So it's all tested and certified as a fungicide, insecticide, ovicidal, insect repellent, and plant growth enhancer. right? So it is an effective multifunction solution tested and proven. Now, why multifunction? Now, to us, multifunction is a necessity. Okay. Because harmful elements such as pest, germ, fungal, mold, and foul cell are interlinked together. Okay? So by eliminating one usually does not remove the others. If you want to have a healthy and hygienic surrounding, you require effective multifunction solution to remove all harmful elements that kill and affect the environment and growth. That's our philosophy behind our product. Okay, so why are we so special about it? So again, number one, we are non-poisonous. Right? US, WHO, US, EPA has certified our solution, our active ingredient is 14 times safer than your table salt. Now, how safe can that be? And we are 2 times safer than sugar. Now, again, if you want to understand this, we can talk about it later. It's basically about LT50, lethal dose at 50% and all that. Right? It's all tested, and we do not contain knockdown agent. Most of pesticide has got knockdown agent, which is carcinogenic anyway. We are water-based. Now, a lot of people underestimate the value of water-based. All pesticide, all solution or chemicals in whatever you use, deodorizer, disinfectant and things like that you use in the market, they use petrol-based, alcohol-based as a solvent. Now that itself is a poisonous solution. Water is a very poor solvent. The fact that we can use water as a solvent is a different platform altogether, different technology altogether. Okay, again, you know, I'll talk about that later if you want to. And because it is a water-based, it's non-stain. It doesn't spray, it doesn't stain the fabric, the environment that you are spraying on. Right? And we are biodegradable, photodegradable. We are the only solution in Singapore or in the world that is, we have a green label, right, approved by Singapore Environment Council. And finally, is we have a long-lasting residual effect. Again, because we are water-based, I'll draw on that later when I talk about public health and things like that later as well. Okay. So basically, there's no such product in the market. There's one product that basically does all that together. Right? Acting as a disinfectant, deodorizer, fungicide, insecticide, insect repellent, herbicide, and all that is good for the plant. Right? So it's really unique. So our approach, in summary, basically is a holistic approach, comprehensive, effective protection, no compromises on the health and well-being of mammals, birds, and plants, and does not affect the environment and ecology of the planet. Now, because of this, our industry we are addressing is very wide. Right? So I'll go into that. Okay, let's talk about where's the pointer? Anyway, let's look at the agriculture. Let's look at agriculture. 200,000 people died directly because of pesticide poisoning worldwide every year. Right? So, but big multinational like Monsanto, Bayer, they still try to convince you that no, they are very safe and all that. But 2 days ago, US has fined Monsanto and proven that Roundup is cancerous. They have fined the company, if I'm not mistaken, $398 million. Actually, it's only a slap in the wrist, you know, considering the fact that so many people had died because of that. Now, Roundup and Monsanto, and people are still using it. So it's very frustrating, you know, it's very frustrating. But it's basically because they dominate the whole world for a century, you know, big multinational and all that. So for people like us, it's very hard to fight them on their level, right? But we have breakground. For example, like I said, if I were to go into each of these, it will take hours just to go into it all that. Agriculture in Malaysia, let's say in Malaysia now. UTP, University Technology Petronas in Trono, Terra. 2 years ago, used our solution to test it on the paddy cultivation to replace all the poisonous pesticide and fungicide. After they have grown, after they have tried on the paddy field to replace all the things, the paddy grows beautifully, there's no problem, no pests, no fungus, nothing. On top of that, now this is the catch. The yield increased by more than 100%. They are shocked. They got a shock. 100% is unheard of. You know, in their test, they were so surprised. They were so amazed. So they submit a paper to an international conference called Green and Sustainable Chemistry Challenge, held in Germany. 500 universities worldwide participated in this program. Our paper came out number 2. Okay, sustainable. And for that, the university got 25,000 euros. We didn't get any single cents from it. That doesn't matter. So that proved that it worked. So after that, they repeat the process again in 2016. Now I have got a paper, if you're interested, I can share with you later, to show to the panel of the judges that the result is repeatable, is sustainable. Okay, so let's talk about that. That is agriculture. Let's talk about animal hygiene. Now, how does animal hygiene use a solution? How does it affect your life every day? Right. Nowadays, again, FAO, Food Agriculture Organization, has already issued a warning. The chicken meat we are eating, the commercial chicken we are eating, there's too much antibiotics. To keep the chicken alive, the farmer use a lot of antibiotics because chicken are very susceptible to viruses and all that. That's why you got this bird flu, you got all this sort of thing. So the farmer, in order to keep the chicken alive, they keep injecting. They keep feeding them with antibiotics. Now, what happened? We consume the chicken meat, especially the young children. When they take too much antibiotic, their natural immune system is affected. So when they grow up weaker, okay? Now, and with all the superbug and things like that, by 2050, FAO has already predicted if nothing has done about this, 50 million people will die because of this. Because your body system is too weak to fight against all the bacteria, the viruses, that superbug now in the market. So by spraying our solution, the chicken farm, a lot of big multinational, I mean like Thailand CP, you heard of CP, Chakrang Papa, it's one of the biggest company in Thailand. They use our solution to spray on the chicken farm, on the swine farm. With that, they cut down the use of the antibiotic. And guess what? Even though they cut down the use of antibiotic, the mortality rate reduced by 50%. Amazing. Because our solution is a disinfectant, and at the same time it kills the insects that carry the bacteria. That's why you need it all in one solution to fight. It cannot be a single function, single mode solution anymore. In the environment, you need that kind of things. By the way, for that, by Singapore Turf Club, Singapore Turf Club is using our solution exclusively in the staple. You know how expensive is the resource is? A couple of million. No other solution is allowed to use in the staple except with. It doesn't matter who wins the tender, they must buy the solution from us. And it's been using for more than 10 years. Right? So that's talking about technology. Now let's go back to public health. Again, it's a very frustrating process. Professional hematologists, everybody has agreed that public fogging is not effective to combat dengue mosquito. Yet, they do not have any solution to fight it. Now, and they don't understand that. They understand, but you know, it's like this. Aedes mosquito is an indoor breeder. Especially when you fog, when they use diesel, very close the window and close the door, right? I mean, I know why you want all the diesel, the toxic fuel to come to the house. Nobody allowed that, right? And on top of that, mosquito is an indoor breeder. I keep repeating that. Now, that's why I talk about the water base is very important. Now, because this is non-stained environment, it doesn't stain. We can spray on the sofa, we can spray on the curtain, we can spray everywhere. Now, any critical place where the mosquito is hiding. Now, it's tested, again, I got a report from universities and all that, even by USN, University Science Malaysia, it's tested by MOH Malaysia, IMR, Institute of Management Research, this is medical research. After you spray Bioex, after 1 week, even though the mosquito landed there, you still die within 24 hours. It worked. It worked. So you spray indoor, and because not only that you kill the mosquito, you disinfect your environment, you kill the germ, the virus, you kill the fungus on the carpet or the curtain and things like that. Right? The only reason why it can be done on top it's multifunction is water-based. If it's not water-based, you can't. Right? Nobody going to spray chemical, alcohol, petrol-based solution on your fabrics. So it can be used in the car and all that. Everything it can be used. So that's why coming back to this public health thing. So this is on the public health. Commercially, we are used by hotel, Genting, Citytel and all that. So typically in hotel, there's one major issue, and all of them are benign, big part is a major issue in the hotel. And it's not because he didn't take care of the hotel well, but because the tourists, they carry the bag, they bring into your room. There's no way you can avoid that. Right? So typically, if your hotel has a big bug, you ask the PCO, pest control operator to come, they spray your room with toxic chemical, you seal the room for 5 to 10 days, and you let go. Guess what? If you spray a solution, you can lease out within 2 hours. Now, why 2 hours? You let the solution, the water base to dry out. Then you can lease out immediately. Now again, we add value. We disinfect your room. We kill the fungus and mold in your room, the smell and all that, all those things. So this is basically, that's why I keep repeating back, multifunctional, water-based, very safe. This is where the commercial application is there. Actually, Petronas, Pertamina, bought our solution. They use it in the oil rig, offshore oil rig. Now you're saying in the middle of the ocean, why they need that? Because it's a community. Because people living there, they bring food there, they cook there, so you have big bug problem, your cockroaches problem in the middle of the ocean and all that. Right? So that's why they use it there. And of course, lastly, the consumer. We have consumer, but unfortunately in Malaysia, because of the law, again, the law and regulation and things like that, presently we have only this one product here, and we are not even allowed to use the word Bioex, under the law. So in Singapore, we have a full range of product. I call it Bioex. It's very friendly. Right? It's not about killing insects alone, basically. It's about your lifestyle, the way how you protect your children, the environment, and all that. Okay, so that is, I think that's all of it. Talking about, because this formula, I mean, basically, I'm not a chemist, I'm not that smart. It's developed by Japanese Mr. Okada. He was the director from Mitsui Chemical, retired as a scientist and a chemist. He developed this combination using a concoction of plant extract and all that to mix together, and using water as a solvent. So this is how it started. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tan. So I think in the food industry, we have to be aware not only about the environment impact, but also the impact on human health, right? So these are the kind of products that would actually be much better to use than those harsh chemical products. So now moving on, the next speaker is Mr. David Ward, who is a leader in sustainable product business development, keynote speaker, and change maker with 26 years of experience. Anyway, there's another batch of coffee coming up. In providing leadership and management direction to global organizations. He has founded a number of sustainable companies, amongst them the Nurturing Co. and more recently Water Life, both which provide plastic-free alternatives. The Nurturing Co. is a disruptive online-focused business offering a complete range of bamboo-based paper products under its own brand Bamboo. Water Life is a homegrown filtered water refill station company aimed specifically at helping hotels, schools, universities, and businesses reduce their dependence on plastic bottled water. Today, he will be talking about plastic-free daily needs products, a topic which is close to his heart. So please join me to welcome David.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you to the organisers for inviting me to come and speak here, and thank you for giving up your time this morning to listen. I hope you find it interesting, and I'll try and keep things moving quickly because we're a little behind schedule. I've been introduced. I've been in this region of the world living here for about 4 years. My wife is Malaysian. We have a 2.5-year-old girl. It drives me crazy, keeps me awake at night. But I've been involved in branding, building businesses for about almost 30 years now. But I switched out of the fashion industry, moved into sustainability, and had a moment of epiphany in September of 2013. I just decided one Saturday morning, I'm going to try and do something a bit more useful for the world rather than myself. So I have two companies, but they're both aiming in the same direction. It's about the reduction of plastics and sustainability of our forests. We heard a lot this morning already, actually, about the amount of plastics which are appearing in our oceans. This is not a new thing. It's become a bit of a press darling. It's a kind of silver lining in a very, very black cloud for us all, because it's now gaining some notoriety, and a lot of people who wouldn't normally have been involved or aware of problems or even engaged mentally in sustainability are suddenly becoming aware through their own social feeds that these kind of things are going on around us. And it's something that we can all do something about. And there is a beginning, particularly in the removal of plastics in supermarkets and stores. There's some activity in Europe, and this is one of the first actually in the world where they have an aisle which is completely plastics free. This is a very, very big challenge for retailers. In fact, most of the things that we buy are wrapped in plastic. This is not to serve us, this is to serve the logistics systems of the retailer. It's been built that way, and we're just the grand recipient of an empty piece of plastic we can't do anything with. And the brands themselves don't want to take any responsibility for it. There are obviously people doing things, but we need to do a lot more. And 66% of people, when tested in Nielsen's report, said that they would prefer to be doing business with companies that are committed to social, environmental, impactful change, and actually willing to pay more for that product. And that's not necessarily a view that I hold. I think you should be able to buy it for the same kind of money that you would normally be paying. And that's certainly the goal of our company. So our company is the Nurturing Company. We have a bamboo-based brand, which is called Bamboo Loo. We're just about to launch it in Singapore towards the end of this month. It's completely plastics-free. There is no plastics in our product, no plastics in our packaging. That's not been without some work to get it there. And we will start. The first product is toilet paper. It's a very simple product. It's not sexy, but it's an absolute necessity in every home. This is what our box will look like, and we also do it in a craft bag, 8-roll pack that removes the plastics as well, so there's no plastic packaging at all. and then we'll move into other products as we go. If in Singapore, and I use Singapore because that's where our company is based, if the numbers would be a lot larger if we were to apply this to Malaysia. But if we manage to get the 1.2 million homes of Singapore to not buy just plastic wrapped toilet paper for 1 year, the amount of plastic that would not then be entering the environment is, as you can see, 177 million square meters. Is quite a horrific number for what is a basic home product. And there are ways and means, and that's what we're trying to do, to not have this in the environment. It can be done. So we're trying our best to do that. Now I'm going to talk about another business. It's quite new, actually. I've been working with an enterprise in Singapore called Antler. It's an accelerator program. I've been sort of thrown into a room with a bunch of other people to try and come up with a grand idea. I already thought I had a grand idea, removing plastics out of retail, but actually we came up with something which was equal in merit and certainly worthy of our attention. And we've decided to call that Bibo. Actually, we started off calling it Water Life, but in fact Water Life sounded a little bit too serious. But Bibo means drink in Latin, and our focus is to try and help us wean the nations of the world off the plastic bottle addiction that we have for a number of reasons. First of all, you wouldn't want this outside your house. There are some images going around right now of a flood in the Philippines where basically the streets look just like that. The water rose, it brought a product out, plastics out of the landfill, and now the streets just look like that, which is pretty shocking. And there's certainly a lot of press going around in terms of what it's doing, and it's now deemed to be something as dangerous actually as climate change. In fact, it's the petrochemical industry is part and parcel of the wider climate changes here, and it's a great participator in making of plastics. Sadly, 500 billion bottles of water are sold every year. That's 1 million a minute globally, but we only manage to recycle about 9%. So sadly, although we might segregate down plastics, as has been happening even in the UK, all they were doing was taking it from you, crushing it, strapping it down, putting it on a freighter and shipping it off to China. And China has now said, no thank you. We don't want more rubbish, we've got enough of our own to deal with. And so we have to find another solution. And the solution isn't just to try to find somewhere else to send it. The solution has got to be for us not to be using it, or to find ways to mitigate and reduce. Won't go into all the bits and pieces on there, but there are some crazy numbers here. It takes 3 litres of water to make 1 plastic litre water bottle. It takes 250 millilitres of oil to make that 1 plastic litre bottle, which will then not be recycled and will kick around for 400 or 500 years, it may be longer. It is not something we can carry on doing. It's affecting marine life, it's affecting mammals, and it's also now beginning to leach into our bodies. There is no definitive study on how that might impact us yet. The timeline is too short, but it's not going to be good for us if we look at what's happening to the whales, the seals, the birds, etc., that we're seeing in pictures on social media. In the study that we did in Singapore, interestingly enough, the reasons why people are buying water, and it does differ country to country, and 76% said it's because of accessibility, which is quite strange considering, Singapore is a very well-developed country with a lot of choices, but it has a huge amount of convenience stores. It's very, very easy to buy bottled water, so it's become a crutch on which people depend upon, and as such, no other solutions have been supported or put forward for a number of years. But bottled water is not as safe as we would hope or like to think it is. In fact, WHO did a study recently of 11 different bottling plants around the world, and over 90% of the water they tested was found to have microplastics in it. Now, they can't define whether those microplastics were in the water and not removed, or actually, and more seriously, did they actually enter in through the bottling process? This is something that has to be resolved, but That's a pretty scary statistic, considering we actually all think this is the safer option to drinking tap water. And Singapore has one of the highest consumptions, actually, of bottled water anywhere in the world per capita. It's a $134 million a year market in a country that has one of the best closed loop water systems in the world, where more than 90% of the people consider that the tap water tastes are good and is drinkable. Yet this keeps climbing. It's that convenience. The other solutions are not there yet. So this is what we're planning. We're planning to deploy 1,000 refill stations around Singapore in various different locations, from hotels to hospitals to key football places, shopping malls, sports arenas, etc. And this will have a 7-stage filtering system, which is actually probably too much for Singapore, but it's very needed in other countries such as Malaysia and Indonesia. And the purpose of this is to get you to bring your own refill bottle and to not be buying another plastic bottle of water. No water is really free, although we turn our tap on and we think, oh, that doesn't cost me anything. Actually, it's cost somebody something, whether it's the municipal government support or whether it's the person paying the water bill itself. So, our stations do have a charge, but that water could actually be sponsored by somebody. And more importantly, they'll be networked, so you've got to find the stations, you'll know exactly where they are, you'll be able to find out where you can buy a bottle, and if it's in a hotel or in a food court, for instance, the water could be sponsored by one of the food brands or something of that nature, so in fact it actually doesn't cost the person who's downloading or and dispensing the water, it may not cost them anything, but somebody else is actually paying for the maintenance and support of the machine. And you can fill it up and you can share exactly how much you're saving, how many bottles you've saved, how much money you've saved, how many bottles that particular machine has saved, things of this nature. 7-stage filtration system, that's the one we're looking at. It's probably, as I said, too advanced for Singapore water, but will certainly add a very nice crisp taste with the coconut filter at the end. But for other countries, we believe this is the sort of the bare minimum we can do in terms of the groundwater requirements. And it's a great opportunity to sponsor it. We were with Marina Bay Sands yesterday, who have a great problem of supplying water for their conference attendees. It's costing them over $1.7 million a year just to provide bottled water, which obviously is quite a lot of bottles. So this kind of program is of vast interest to them. Whether it's a larger hotel or a 100-bedroom hotel, which is another one we're speaking to currently, who actively want to remove the plastic bottles from the rooms. In that case, it's costing them over $125,000 a year just to put bottled water in a room every day. And it's a part-sponsored approach in terms of being in a wrapper station, so we can have brands that are linked to the requirements of the audience around it. And we have different types of schedules. It can be bought, it can be leased, it can be there's a service agreement, a contract, and how that might work for your businesses. But ultimately, in Singapore, we have some goals for this, if we're able to achieve that, and that is to reduce quite considerably the number of litre bottles that may be used, and also the amount of water that would have gone into those plastic bottles being made in the first place, and also the amount of oil that would have been used in making those bottles. And part of our focus is obviously to provide some funding to NGOs who are actively out in areas of the world where people basically just don't have any water and are struggling day to day, or have to walk miles to a well. We've seen some of these quite distressing images, I think, from time to time. And there are a number of great organisations out there trying to do their best to help resolve these situations, and we believe that we should be trying to help fund those. And if at some point in our future we can get actively involved in it, then we will, but we think there are really already a great deal of clever people out there doing some really great things that we can help with. So, I think to sort of finish off, our message really here is, fill your bottle, don't fill the landfill. And, from a nurturing company perspective, we want to try and bring plastics free as a common component of your shopping basket, not an unusual thing, which it would be today. And thank you very much for your time and listening. I'll be here for about another hour if you've got any questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you, David. So how many of you were inspired by that talk? And how many are going to think of ways that you can reduce the use of plastic bottles at your events or at your outlet? Anyone going to immediately implement something? Okay, anyway, something to think about anyway. And also, it could be a great business opportunity as well. So, moving on to the next speaker, we were supposed to have Mr. William Rodney Yeo from Aristec, but he has a rather important meeting somewhere else, which I think Mike will share a bit on, or just mention. So in his place, one of his senior management will be giving his presentation. Mr. Michael Folk, he's the Project and Business Development Manager at Aristec. He will be sharing on the effective and green solution for maintaining your air conditioning system and refrigeration systems, which is particularly relevant to the F&B industry as it can help prevent food contamination by bacteria and molds. So please help me welcome Mr. Mike Folk.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Folk, and I'm in charge of project and business development at Aristec. William Yeo sent his apologies because at the very last minute yesterday, he was invited to meet up with the Prime Minister later on today, so he decided that he couldn't miss out on that opportunity. But anyway, I will give the presentation. Without further ado, basically, Aristec is a live environmental sciences company, and we involved in multi-enzyme technology, decontamination for HVAC systems, deep penetrating cleaning and odor neutralizers for the global market. We are bio-certified by Malaysian Biotech Corporation. We are green certified by Malaysian Green Technology Corporation. We are eco-label certified by Serum. We are halal certified by Jatim. We are Buatuan Malaysia certified by KPDN-KK. We are ISO 14000 by XGS. And we are the product owners and manufacturers. We do continuous research and development, custom-made formulations, food-grade and non-GMO multi-enzyme. And we have more than 27 years in this multi-enzyme technology business. And we contribute to GBI and LEED. This is our, on the left, top and bottom, is basically our research and development in Australia. And on the center and the right is basically our little lab in our KL office. The unique setup of Aristec is basically we have our own in-house research and development in which we will conduct experiments and come out with products, and then we will send it for services and testing, and if everything is good, we'll send it for manufacturing. We have our own manufacturing plant in Shah Alam. If the product is not up to par, we'll send it back straight away to R&D and we'll work on it and perfect it basically. And after that, we have our own sales and marketing for domestic and the international market. The universal problems are basically biofilms, what is otherwise known as jelly and slime. What is biofilm? Basically, biofilm is formed when a single bacterial cell, like over here in this illustration, starts to get together with other cells and they start to form a biofilm. And eventually it builds up over time because there's contamination everywhere. And this biofilm would be able to hold all these contaminants, which include not just bacterial cells, but also mold, spores, etc. Eventually it will break and it will send away some of these mold, spores, or bacterial cells into the air, or maybe drop from the ceiling onto the food in the food and beverage area. This is another illustration where we use the blood vessel where when cholesterol builds up, it basically slows down or interrupts the blood flow process, and eventually it leads to a heart attack. Similarly, in a water pipe system, biofilm forms and you have contaminants getting stuck, including dust and bacteria and eventually mold and all kinds of things, including even calcium will get built up, and the water pipe gets clogged up, and you have a blockage in the system. And similarly, on the aircon coil fin, biofilm forms because of the moisture in the air and the dust getting caught, and eventually mold builds up, all kinds of contaminants, and the aerodynamics of the airflow will be there, and eventually the aircon does not work according to its specification. This is an example of, This is an example of basically the mold and contamination coming up from a AHU coil. This is normally in the bigger buildings. And other areas of possible contamination, which are hosts for disease-causing organisms, of course the aircon, refrigeration, food processing plants, toilets, bench tops in kitchens, cold rooms, kitchen floors, block sinks, and choke pipes. The universal problem basically causes food and beverage contamination, which is a loss in money, bad indoor air quality, indoor environmental quality, higher medical bills, loss in product yield and shelf life, asset damage, high operating costs, high energy usage, frequent breakdowns, bacterial and fungal circulates continuously throughout the system, product damage then causes more damage, short-term solutions are costly and often not long-lasting enough. There will be a loss in comfort and temperature due to the inefficiency of the aircon system. And normally, aggressive acid and alkaline chemicals are used for cleaning the aircon. Now, this is an example of an HVAC system or heating, ventilation, air conditioning system. Air goes in through here from the fresh air intake, and the ashtray normally says that ideally there's about 30% fresh air intake, but in practice, especially in Malaysia, only about 10% is fresh air is going in. This is to basically control the energy bill, and it goes in and it goes through the filter, the coil, blowers, through the ducting and into the room, wherever it is, and it circulates back. 90% of the air keeps circulating. All these red spots are basically contaminants, including mold spores, bacteria, and so forth. It keeps circulating on and on the whole day long as long as the aircon is on, and that's why you have this thing called sick building syndrome. We have developed then a series of products to address the filter, the coil, basically the filter, the coil, the ducting, and even the room, where we basically remove the contaminants, the food source being the biofilm, and therefore all these will be removed eventually. This is the difference between our product, the BMPD, versus the conventional acid alkaline. Our product is basically pH 7, but we put it in the range here because it's still considered neutral in this range. Acid, conventional acid is pH 1 to 3, alkaline is pH 11 to 14. This is an aircon coil here, where we have a sample on our table over there. Acid, this is the corrosion caused by acid cleaning over the time. You can see the white stuff. This alkaline, less corrosion, but still it happens. And this is our product, which is actually pH 7 neutral. So it's zero corrosion. This is a testing that was done by Composite Technologies Research Malaysia. Using acid over a 10-year period, there was a weight loss of 43% plus. Using alkaline, it was about 32%. And using our product, the Aerostech enzyme-based product, BMPD, there was a 0% weight loss. This is based on 1 year of usage for over a period of 10 years. These are examples of what happens when there's corrosion. The coil film becomes thinner and brittle, and so that when the wind blows through it, it bends and so forth, and therefore the aerodynamic flow of the coil is not there, and energy consumption goes up just to produce the air that's needed. that's another worst case scenario there. And our solution basically is this. We use our multi-enzyme technology basically is to break the substrate, the contaminants over here, and then we release the product so that it's easier to clean it away. It's better hygiene and in-depth cleaning, safer for occupants and users. It's neutral pH, non-irritant, extending life of equipment and installations, non-aggressive for equipment, facilities, cost and time saving, positive impact on the environment, sustainability derived from plants and soil, that's why it's a natural product, and it's readily biodegradable since it's eco-label. This is a before and after cleaning. You can see that the blue fin coil is still there. That's the original condition of a new aircon. Normally when after some time of using acid alkaline the conventional way, this blue color will not be there. When it's not there, the efficiency of the aircon system drops. This is a ceiling cassette where you can see disgusting mold and that kind of stuff. This is after cleaning. More before and after. There's a drain pan, before and after. Blower. This is a magnified picture of the filter. You can see that it's very congested. Basically due to biofilm and mold and fungus roots, etc. And this is after the cleaning, where these are fiber roots basically. And so once it's done, it makes the filter more effective. This is a ducting system. I think this belongs to a 5-star hospital somewhere in Malaysia. This is after cleaning, and those are diffusers. You can see whenever there's this brownish and dirty looking ceiling coming out, it's basically contamination. And we have a duct and surface treatment. We send in our robot to the ducting to do inspection. This is a video recorder, and we will take note of what's happening inside the ducting system, where there's any damage or holes. Then we will use our mechanical rotary brush to clean and agitate the ducting system, while there's a high-powered vacuum on the other end, sucking in all the contaminants. We will create access doors for inspection purpose or easier maintenance. And after that, we'll do a duct treatment where it's done by a bit of fogging, which then prevents the growth of biofilm, mold, fungus, and algae for the next 12 months. Comes with a warranty. So we do like hospitals and operating theaters, pharmaceutical, factory plants, cinemas, offices, hospitality areas, universities, labs, and residential. In summary, Aerostech's value proposition. We protect staff and patrons and the quality of life, we prevent food spoilage contamination, improve comfort and temperature, reduce insect and fly infestation, with multi-enzyme technology, and there will be less complaints and credibility for food and beverage outlets. We prevent acid damage because of our product neutral. There's energy and system efficiency because the aircon is now optimized. We remove the source of contaminants from the aircons and fridge and freezers. We improve productivity and less absenteeism because there will be less incidence of sick building syndrome. So it's safe for occupants, and overall there will be savings. There's low or no capex expenditure, and it will be within budget, reducing costs and variable orders. And we report the truth because we call a spade. If it's very bad, and we call it very bad. And a customized solution provider, we will formulate new products if necessary to solve the problem. Our strategic alliances, we are endorsed by Biotech Corporation, which was under MOSTI, the Ministry of Science and Technology. Under Green Tech, which is under Qatar Energy Ministry. Both of these ministries have now merged together. It's called MESTEC. We have insurance under QBE to protect damages, whatever, in case there is any. We are a member of ASHRAE, Green Building Council of Australia, Malaysian Green Building Council as well. The awards we won include the Global Clean Tech Innovation Program, we have a 4-star rating from the Ministry of Defense. We are winner of the Enterprise 50 in 2016. We were on the Grand Laureate last year, and as well as the SOBA, the Star Outstanding Business Award for Best Innovation. And our certifications, again, repeat, include ISO 14000 by SGS, Ecolabel by Cerium, the Green Mark under Green Tech or MyHijau. We have a BioNexus status, we have BioNexus product. We're bought in Malaysia now. We used to be manufacturing in Australia. We're Standards Malaysia as well. We have Halal Jakim and Halal in Australia. We have third-party verification by ChemWatch, ALS Laboratory, Acumen, Cerium, and CTRM. And basically, we're offering partnerships to spearhead the transformation of responsible and caring companies into green, bio, and eco-technology. We've been focused and consistent what we say and do, what we do best since 2002. Where your partner and change is progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. That was a very good presentation, very impressive and reputable company indeed. So the technology seems very good as well for F&B. Now, moving on, I just wanted to mention that Sunway just informed me that there will be a lucky draw at the end of the whole session, and it will be vouchers to Jaya Grocer. So you can immediately take your voucher and get some goodies. And the next speaker is Chris Perry. He's the founder of Joe Green. So he's actually a F&B operator, and he will be sharing about the some of the green things that he has implemented in his cafe. Chris is actually a concept and landscape designer for Medini Green Parks, which is comprised of the Edible Park and the Heritage Forest, which is actually about 5 minutes from here. And his social enterprise, Joe Green, is tasked to build a green community that is both social and entrepreneurial around the platform for sustainable living. Chris will be sharing his personal view on what encompasses a green and sustainable F&B outlet. Please help me to welcome Chris.
Morning, everyone. Can I have a 5-minute warning at the end? Okay, so I'm going to talk about the cafe at Edible Park, which actually I have to fully disclose is not even really a cafe. It's really a platform. It's a venue, really, and what I do is I curate the vendors that operate there. And they operate at various levels at the cafe, in the markets, and the festivals that we do. And also we're privileged because it's not really a commercial enterprise. We are a social enterprise. We are funded by Khazanah, managed by Medini Investment. So our ambitions are, more about creating new ideas and building community around these new ideas. So the first big one is actually the cafe itself is completely outdoor. There is no internal part to this cafe. We worked with Y Architect to develop the idea of this space, which is, I think, kind of important. It's actually the kind of spaces that we used to inhabit a long time ago. These are indigenous, native type buildings, which is something that Yap from Y Architect is actually really fond of also. I think the other thing that's apparent in this image is people. We really work on the on the people part of this equation. With the green thing, you know, you can change all the variables, but if the people are not agreeable, you know, if it doesn't interest them, excite them, or inspire them, they're not going to do it. So we work a lot at figuring out what is the desire part of the equation, and my background as a designer and creative director actually informs this. I'm really interested in figuring out what do they want and how do we bring them forward. So let me go through some of the basic things we offer at the cafe. So we offer coffee and tea, but right there we have one big idea, which is about local. So we only serve local-based coffee, which is roasted in Batu Pahat. Our teas are actually sourced from the park itself. They're all flowers and herbs that we harvest and dry. And we also do mix it with an organic tea, also a Malaysian-based organic tea. And we sell the product alongside it. So if someone wants to take it home, it's available to do that. We have cold drinks, which are, again, sourced either directly from the park. We make syrups with basil flower, roselle. The basil flower is interesting because it's actually a waste product. We have to harvest, otherwise the basil dies. So we keep working on trying to figure out how to use a lot of the things that actually are just part of the daily life of the park. So we even try to get our vendors to bake with it. We're trying to make it like an alternative lavender, if you will. We try to also, for example, you know, in our lattes, we use a local milk. We use farm fresh. So one big idea here is we want to keep it very local, very Johor. We look for Johor supplies for everything. Or we do it ourselves. The cafe itself, our main vendor is Sharina Ali, who has Baker's Garden at Eco Botanic. Sharina and us, the Johor Green community, goes back a few years. She started out doing markets with us, and we really love that she does very authentic baked goods, cakes, quiches, that kind of thing. And they are all natural ingredients, no artificial ingredients. And then, you know, we've also tested to make it a little bit more to fit our narrative, which is the other big idea we have, which is plant-based. We really like this idea of plant-based, so we've got it to do like a tempeh pie, and we've also worked on doing alternatives to wheat-based products. So she does a sweet potato base on that quiche. She does a brown rice base. So we're constantly working with our vendors to actually improve our message also. So but also we like the fact that it looks gorgeous, it tastes really good, and we can get people on our side on the subject. Our cafe is actually only open one day a week on Saturdays, and it's open, and one Saturday a month we have a green market. So the Saturdays are quite small right now because we're actually in a very low foot traffic area. There's barely anything there. The monthly markets are a lot busier. We have 300 to 400 people come to that on Saturdays. But that's changing, and we're preparing for that change. Madini 9 opens in September, and by November we will see a lot of foot traffic there, and Sharina will probably open the cafe all week for lunch to meet that demand. We have 2 festivals a year. This festival was taken in, this photo was taken in March at our Edible Festival. We've got one coming up in October called Harvest Festival. Edible Festival was to introduce ourselves and our presence in Iskandar Putri. Here is Darren Teo, arguably one of the most famous chefs in Malaysia. He owns Dewakan in KL. And he's a real kindred spirit in that he also is very drawn to plant-based and indigenous ingredients. So here he is doing a showcase with locally sourced ulam type vegetables with a mix of some of the flowers and herbs from our garden. So that's the other thing we want to do here is, apart from our cafe F&B, we actually want talent to come and occasionally show what they can do with local ingredients, what they can do with the ingredients that they find at our location. At our monthly market, the offering at the cafe gets enhanced by the offering by the vendors. So we tell a slightly broader story, but the narrative remains the same. In this picture, we have craft beverages by Alex, who's here today. We have authentic kampung food from Club Alami, who are actually just quite nearby. They're based in Tanjung Kupang. So we expand the story with more but different, you know. And then we add music. So we make the experience of being there very, very social. The green market's actually really popular, and every month we see a little bit of an increase in the number of people that come. I'd like to talk a little bit about the people that come, because we've really grown to understand that the Iskandar Putri has a very interesting demographic. We have a very high amount of expats, and the expats are not just Western expats. We have a lot of Japanese, Korean, Pakistani. You know, they're all professionals, families living and working here, and they are represented not just in our customers or the people who come to the markets or the cafe, but also in the vendors. We have a couple of Japanese vendors with expat vendors. So this is, in a way, you know, when we talk about Johor, this is actually something new. This is quite different. This is not old Johor. This is a new mix of people that are coming together in the city. We host tours and events. We get a lot of kids, which I think is important because we are modeling a lot of ideas, behaviors. We get them to eat this plant-based offering usually. So this one on the left is the SK Sungai Dangda, sponsored by Iskandar Investment. And we've made a nasi bunga for them, which was a combination of something they know, which is nasi kerabu, but we added flowers from our garden. So we were able to talk about it, and they have a little fun, and you know, it's quite engaging. In the other photo, we did a campfire cookout with another SK, I can't remember the name, but it's a Chinese language school also in Iskandar Putri, I think it's Horizon Hills. And what we offered there was a tempeh burger with sweet potato, I think, yeah. Oh yeah, and also the drinks. We do roselle drinks, lemongrass and lime, all from the park. And we talk about it, and we tell them what it is. And we always get a really, really good reaction. They always are quite fascinated with our choices, and we involve them. You know, it's quite tangible, the involvement. We get them involved in the campfire cookout. So there's a couple of things that I think we're sort of leaning towards as our specialty. One of them is flowers. We're making flowers an interesting edible ingredient. And we do it in not just in our offerings, so when we have an event, maybe we will do flower cakes. We also sell flowers to F&B, to chefs. So we work a lot with chefs. We want to be very friendly with chefs. So we've worked with Sprout, Flowers in the Window. We're going to be working with Void, we're opening in Sunway. Because we need them to evangelize some of our ideas. You know, we can never do what they do, like Darren make beautiful things on the plate. And I think these are the kind of things that can excite the general public and make them more interested in the subject and buy into it. So, so flowers is definitely one of our, sort of our specialties. The other is that we actually have a farm. We have a 1-acre farm. We grow our vegetables. On the Saturdays when we have the cafe open, we also have a small farm stand where we sell these items. And we're beginning to bring in a few more things. Like now we've got eggs. We've got free-range organic eggs. At the farm we have, actually we also believe in ethical behaviors. So we employ, at the farm we have 2 Orang Asli workers. We have a Rohingya refugee. We work with 2 senior Malaysians. We treat the enterprise quite holistically. We think everything kind of matters. And the Orang Asli actually have now brought in their family to be vendors at our market. So now, last month we had one of their community come and sell shellfish and fish. Although we are plant-based, I said we are plant-based. Plant-based is not necessarily just vegetarian. We do, if local fish is a good idea, we'll put it in there. So I'd like to wrap up with a sort of sense of where these ideas belong in a bigger perspective. I followed some guidance from this from Drawdown. If you're not aware of it, I highly recommend you take a look at it. Which is they gathered a qualified and diverse group of researchers from around the world to identify, research, and model the 100 most substantive existing solutions to address climate change. So these are real solutions that can actually institute change, and which gives you a perspective actually on what we're doing and and what's happening around us. So some of the choices we're making address directly this change. Number one, refrigerant management. The fact that our entire cafe is outdoors without any air conditioning is really exhibiting this kind of behavior. When we have a lot of local product, hyper-local that just comes from our farm, or local that just comes from Tanjung Kupang, we are also cutting out all the refrigeration that happens when you're buying something that's come in a refrigerated truck onto refrigerated shelves in an air-conditioned supermarket. So we're really cutting out that part of the equation. Number four, plant-rich diet is, again, another big deal, I think. We eat far too much meat now, and we really want to try and get people to get excited about a plant-based diet, and we just want to show them more choices and possibilities. That's why we like the chefs giving us other ideas. And finally, the farm represents a couple of things. Number 11, regenerative agriculture. The piece of land that we are in, this 4-acre park, actually stood empty for 10 years before we took it over. It was just grass and paths and a children's playground. And I think it's a great model of how you can activate a piece of land with not just product, but also ideas, community, entertainment. We have markets, festivals, tours, and weekly activities. We do workshops. And also the idea of number 14, tropical staple trees, is something that we will grow into as our banana trees and our papaya trees bear fruit. But it's also reflected in our other choices of actually using a lot more lowland vegetables. You know, we really, we have Brazilian spinach, and we put that in our product and get people to understand what that's like. I have, most of these ideas are actually embedded in this book called Eat Your Landscape, which we gave away at our last festival. I have about 20 copies here, so do come and get one, and we'll go into more detail. It's actually a recipe book, but layered into the recipes is a little bit more information about the park, some of the ideas that we are doing about the building and about our community. Thank you for your time, and we have a festival on October the 6th, so save that date.
Great talk, Chris. Yeah, I really love going to that place at Noble Park. So relaxing, and the food is great too. So now we come to the last speaker, and this is going to be a grand finale. If there's one take-home message for today, you'll probably get it from here, something that you can implement straight away. So the speaker is Caroline Lau. She's the co-founder of Sampah Menyampa, and she has traveled down to be here today from KL. So Caroline set up Sampah Menyampa, which is a volunteer citizens action initiative in 2017, spreading awareness to Malaysians on litter and plastic pollution. Sampah Menyampa launched their first campaign, Tak Nak Straw, which means say no to straws, in March 2017, and their second campaign, Tak Nak Plastic, which is no to plastic, in March 2018. This Merdeka month, in the spirit of Malaysia Baru of hope and change, they launched Merdeka Dari Straw, which is freedom from straws, to push for straws being served only on request. We hope that her message today will spread to Johor as well. So it's up to all of us here today to take this important message back to our homes and businesses. So I'd like to welcome Caroline to give her message.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very excited to have this opportunity to reach out to a lot of you and spread the message about simple plastic straws and why we need less of them. Okay, thank you for the introduction. That was great. So that's us. Nampak Sampah Menyampa. You see rubbish and you feel revolted and disgusted. Okay, that's the name of our group. Okay, as Tim mentioned earlier, we have that much going into the oceans every year. It doesn't matter about the figure anymore because these figures are just getting ridiculously large, right? And this wonderful image, very strong, powerful image, is that plastic pollution just, tip of the iceberg here for ocean health, and also actually for land health as well, and our own personal health, human being health. And we can't ignore this. I'm sorry if I'm saying stuff that you might already know, but I usually talk to primary school children, so it's all a bit primary, bear with me, yeah? My message is that all the oceans are shared. We can't say, oh, that's just America's problem, or, Costa Rica. It's our problem. We have to do something about it too, yeah? And I have to show the gory images because that's how I get my message home. So, yeah, the turtle on the left is actually a Malaysian turtle, yeah, on the East Coast, okay? So it's not like, oh, fla-flung Costa Rica, which is the right turtle, right, the picture on the right, which is the turtle that started the whole no straw movement around the world. Spurred it on, actually. And this image of an albatross feeding its chick plastic, us human beings, in a way, we're doing the same thing to our own children. So it's I don't be scaremongering, as mentioned earlier by Dave. We don't have exact facts and statistics, but it was brought to my attention that perhaps research can't actually be done because there's no control study, because all us human beings have plastics in us, so there's no There's no control to base anything against. Yeah, this is a bit better. So, so what was not maybe that we all know that microplastics are now in the food chain. And not just in the little plastic pieces, but in microplastics we can't see with the naked eye, and nanoplastics which can travel through our cell walls. And we're living in kind of like a plastic soup, and the bigger the fish, the more bigger the predator fish, the more plastic is in them. So, in a sense it's like, let's eat ikan bilis and not tuna, or less of tuna. So, these are the standard facts we get the data we get from is supplied by the Ocean Conservancy. They collect data provided by volunteers all around the world. The next day is the 15th of September. It's a World International Oceans Day, I believe it's called, where volunteers just go out, given on that day for 2 hours, collect rubbish from the beaches, then they document it by phone, images, send it back to the Ocean Conservancy Council. They will then collate this data from all the beaches around the world, and they come up with figures like this. And so this is, I think, probably 2010. So we have 2016, 17, but I just use this slide. But, it's a lot of it is single-use disposables, and straws and stirrers are always there. Cigarette butts, I think, has always been number one. And back to Malaysia, we throw out a lot of waste. I don't know whether it's the same as Singapore, but we're, I think, on par. And it's going to be increasing. So our landfills now are not just 40 to 50% food waste, as mentioned by Tim, but a lot of that is plastics. And you know how we like to wrap our food waste in plastic bags, and they go to the landfill. So it's become incredibly inefficient to even tap methane gas or anything we can get out of the landfills. It's been difficult because of all the plastics in there. And it's going to increase, they predict. Okay, so what has a plastic straw got to do with all this? The plastic straw is the tip of the trash bird, and Malaysians, we just use them. And a lot of small businesses just need them to ply their goods, their drinks, right? So we have a great dependency on plastic straws, and it's estimated last year, I think it was in the Star newspaper, that Malaysians throw out 31 million plastic straws every day, based on the fact that, okay, not everybody drinks out and not everybody drinks cold drinks, but the ones that do, we are sitting there sometimes having 2 or 3 drinks, and each time the drink comes with a plastic straw, and so that makes up for the rest of the population in terms of numbers. So this is kind of like standard. If you did do beach cleanups, and there are a lot more groups in Malaysia now doing beach cleanups, this is what you can come up with. And then the pile of cigarette butts is probably even larger in quantity, if not volume, but it's there. Cigarette butts are quite bad. So, as Sampah Menyampah, we go to schools, we just have our collateral awareness is just the storyboard of the journey of a plastic straw. So we describe how Malaysians might have a meal and how the straw gets thrown away into landfills where with the accumulated plastics it could over time leach into our water tables or get blown by the wind or swept by the rain into drains, into the oceans and back into our food chain. Very simple. And so with that, we try and get people to take this pledge, which is adopted from the standard straw movements around the world, which is basically a 5-point pledge. The first is to say no to a plastic straw. No thanks. I'll have my drink without a straw. Just as people choose what drink they want to have from the menu, they can choose or not whether to have a straw or not. The first thing is to try and refuse it. Second is if you really enjoy drinking with a straw, or you need to drink with a straw, as some people do, bring your own. There are a lot of reusable alternatives out there. Our store here has a display of them, and it's something that's just simple enough to carry in your bag with you, and then you are responsible for its own hygiene, right? Because the perception is that I don't want to drink out of that glass because it might not be clean, but you bring your own straw and maybe helps you with your perception. The third step is to reach out and tell your friends and family. The fourth one is to take your favorite restaurant, talk to them and say, hey, how about just serving straws on request? Yeah? And the fifth one is like, how about serving straws if you are on request, which are earth-friendly, or hey, not even have straws at all. So why I'm grateful for this opportunity with people in the industry, food and beverage industry, is you play a very, very big part in the awareness. You're crucial. It all comes from many, many layers, and yes, it stems down to the individual. But we have a lot of people come up in our work and say, hey, I go out and order a drink. It comes with a straw. It's kind of like not my problem now because they're serving it. And then I speak to the people in cafes and restaurants and going, I can't still not serve a straw. they'll hate me for it. I can't afford to have a customer complain, right? So it's kind of like a catch-22 thing, but nobody's really talking to each other. We did this experiment with the Publica, this image on the left, and with the help of Publica, they printed out table cards to the participating outlets that were interested to try this out just for the weekend. So this was at the social in Publica, so I like to call it the social experiment. Over the weekend, the waiters just had, or were told, okay, this weekend straws are on request. The table card says so because our message here was because the earth cannot digest plastic. Behind the card were a few more facts about why, what's wrong with plastic straws, can't be degraded, can't be recycled, they take 200 years to degrade, you just use them for 20 minutes, they languish in the landfills for hundreds of years, and they get into our food chain, and they cause a lot of havoc and detriment to wildlife and sea life. So just based on that, after one day, the next day when I went and checked with the head waiter, I said, how did it go? And he said only 20% asked for straws. So that's a savings of 80%. It's not just a savings of plastic straws ending up in the landfills, it's a savings of cost, right? I know, Malaysia is the cheapest country in the world to buy plastic straws. We have people are coming to buy straws from us. But that's not solving the bigger picture because the cost of cleanup is huge, you know, it's immeasurable. Another way is to have the card at the front, if you're in a cafe, as the people are making their orders. Again, you have a message to say, you know, just do your thing as being a good citizen. And it's up to people to make the choice. And the reason being is that individuals had to make the choice for any change to happen. Even if the government were to ban straws, human beings still need to change our habits of consumption. Whether it's plastic water bottles or plastic bags, we need to be aware of why we make these choices. So, as I mentioned earlier, the F&B industry can play a big part in spreading the awareness. The only third thing we have on our campaign collateral is a range of different straws of what's cool, what's not cool, and what is the coolest, which is obviously no straw at all because the human mouth is designed to drink straight from the cup. Really. And you know, if anybody had questions about, but what about the ice and all that, come talk to me. I got all kinds of simple solutions that don't need anything disposable. And plastic is a disposable, you know, it's kind of like a misnomer, right? Because it lasts forever. So I just want to, this slide here, you can see all the straws there, but this one is the green one is interesting because it's papaya stem. And this is like, you know, Four Seasons Hotel in Lombok will do their little drinks by the pool with papaya stem, and how oh so tropical can you get, right? And papaya stem is free, you just grow them around the backyard outside your restaurant kind of deal, right? And you just cut the stem, soak it in salted water for an hour just to sterilize the outside. You can prepare them, put them in a Tupperware in the fridge for up to 4 days. You can have your constant supply of papaya stem straws, which do not taste bitter, and are compostable when they're thrown away. So that's, to me, the most, you know, and along with bamboo, are the most earth-friendly straws going. Okay, and also you see there are a lot more now coming out in the market. They're all a bit gimmicky, but human beings, we like choice, so we have them there just to show the choice, range of choice. So, we've done a whole year's work speaking to the individuals at shopping malls or at schools, at universities, and promoting that nut straw. This year, as mentioned earlier, on the spirit of change in Malaysia, with the new Malaysia Baru, we thought, right, we're going to do this. Let's Merdeka Dari Straw, folks. And so we had this campaign running from all of August until the 16th of September, but hopefully beyond. And we're trying to say to anybody who'd like to participate, get in touch with us. We will share you our collateral, whether you want to use it or not, but the ideas are there. You can tampal, you can place that logo there if you want, because it kind of inspires people. It's a very, very Malaysian Merdeka Day kind of graphic style. And to just serve straws on request, serve straws only serve, you can go the next first baby step, serve straws on your request. You can start walking tall. You can say, okay, I'm only going to serve you earth-friendly straws on request. Or you can really, you know, go sprinting there and just not serve straws at all. Even the tallest of milkshakes can be drunk without a straw. If you were at home and you made that smoothie, you don't drink it with a straw, you just drink it from the glass. It tastes better, actually. You know, perhaps there's a question about the drinks on the go. Yeah, okay, drinks on the go. Maybe it's a whole part of the culture. I mean, I'm not a business person, but maybe we should all just think about slowing down instead of speeding people up. We should do like the Japanese and sit and eat, sit and drink. If you take on the go, great, but you don't have to have that straw drinking while you go. You sit and drink it. And so these are little changes in culture which we can reverse because we were like that before. It's not impossible to imagine. We were like that before. So be brave, be bold. We're hoping that a lot of you will take a stance and just say simply, don't worry about the customers, the one or two. They might need it, they might fuss and grumble, but they are not status quo. Okay? They are not the large crowd of customers. And you can be bold and brave. And I think the average person will respect you more for it, that you are doing something for the environment and you are helping them also play a role in doing something for the environment. So with that, I'd like to end with just this one, because I'm an activist, I have to end with an image. Before that, this is a good image. This is what we have. We can offer you a place on the Tak Nak Straw map, which is a Google map, and we will hopefully wanting to pin all locations or venues that are straw-free or plastic straw-free, because we feel that if we're seen as a bigger whole, it'll just fire up people's imaginations more and more people will be bolder to jump on board, yeah? And less individuals will complain. And this is the last image. This is a picture of a otter in Langkawi in a plastic bag. And I think, who threw the plastic bag, what did the plastic bag carry, and how long was the plastic bag used for before it was maybe blown into the ocean or just chucked and ditched and ended up in the ocean, and how this poor otter tried to get into it to look for the food in it and suffocate it. And I say this is my plastic bag. And I'd like to think that you might want to think of it, and your customers too, that it's also your plastic bag. Because we're all responsible, yeah? We all can't run from this. So that's my bit of activism there, saying just be part of the big picture, be bold and brave, and just serve straws on request or not at all. Thank you very, very much.
Well, I guess we had to end on a note of the environment, and what a note. I have to say, I completely endorse your efforts. I think you're doing a great job. I think we should all do something to make a difference. We all can do something, and I think we should be seen for being green. So if you're a zero waste restaurant, put it on your menus. Let your customers know that you're doing the right thing. Get rid of straws, obviously, and obviously plastic bags. But I would like to thank you all very much for coming. I really appreciate your time.